Hey, this is Heather McCormick from Manifesting Naturally, where, as always, we will be digging into my very favorite topic to talk about, the law of assumption, specifically through the teachings of the one and only Neville Goddard, through his books, lectures, recordings. But this is the man who basically took religion out of the Bible. He explains it as various parables where everyone and everything that is written in those books, the New and Old Testament, is just a personification of a psychological state of mind where we all experience at different times, different states of mind, different self-concepts, different experiences we go through as we go through life. So I'm really, really excited to welcome you. If this is your first time listening, this is my second episode on my new YouTube channel that has been a long time coming. So yes, I'm very excited. So if it is your first time, then welcome. And if you're returning after listening to the first episode, where I basically talked about the importance of the mental diet and the value of incorporating Neville's lecture of the 12 disciples, and how they will really help you get through manifesting so much easier if you're really disciplining your mind and your thoughts, since it's our thoughts and our assumptions that are creating what we're imagining, and then that's how we are, persisting in those thoughts, and that's how we are creating what we're seeing. That's how we're landing in the state that we're in. All right, we're thinking poverty, then we land in a state of poverty. It can be no other way. That's the law. So where I left off in the last video was promising to discuss an absolute make or break. I don't care what you say. This is like a fucking thing you just have to do. Or else you might as well give it up. If you're not going to do this, you might as well save yourself a lot of trouble, a lot of angst, and a lot of misery and frustration and headbanging. But basically, if you want to master his teachings, just as in the disciples, the very first step is to learn and to understand and to accept that Jesus, when he reveals his name as I am, is telling that he is God. He is I am. And that is the name of God. He tells the first disciple that. He tells Simon that. And that allows Simon to build the kingdom of God, right? It's within, it's not without. And we have to do that too. We literally have to accept that if Jesus and God are I am, and if you say, who are you? I would say, I am Heather. And I ask you, you would say, I am whoever. Then we also are Jesus, who is God. So it could be a hard pill to swallow, I know, but regardless of your background and, your relationship to religion, there's still, a definite set of beliefs that we each hold about it. For me, it was actually disdain and bewilderment that anyone could believe in it. And, I found there was no love like Christian hatred. So I really looked in every possible nook and cranny before I could even contemplate associating myself with anything biblical, despite knowing that Neville felt the same way. I mean, some of his lectures, he kind of laughs and almost mocks, which is really brave of him at the time, if you think about it, going back in that time to stand out in front of people and, basically be somewhat blasphemous, right? And saying that he's God and he's sent and Christ isn't Christ and all that, everything that he was saying, to, the people that would show up at his lectures. But, thankfully I was mesmerized. And at this point, it did make some sense in a deeper way. There was something that kept bringing me there. It kept me believing. It intrigued me. It was like I had known this all along. And I've talked to other people who have had the same experience. Like there was just something all along in our life that this made sense in a way, even though we weren't necessarily learning it correctly or from the correct points of view necessarily. I don't know how to put it, but it was something that made just sense. It just made sense. So I just barely pulled off resisting this urge to indulge in disdain without prior investigation. But, I made it. But I did exhaust myself, completely neglected any critical thinking. I found myself like chest deep in teachings that were basically, as I see it, is they were taking Neville Goddard's recipe book, which promised this magical and miraculous results and a tasty little flavor, but they had swapped out some of the extremely important ingredients that could really only be possible, that could only make his end result possible with these ingredients. But what they did was they swapped it out with their own ingredients, which were more of a sort of therapeutic or healing or mindfulness on acid type of thing. And I had my own background in psychology, and so I kind of just bought in and exhausted myself. And I watched others exhaust themselves for years. And as Neville discussed in the Coin of Heaven lecture, I finally came upon that myself because I finally decided to invest in myself and go to the source, which is what I am always going to advise you to do. Invest in yourself and go to the source. I will always be here to help. I will always be here to break things down and to go over and to answer questions. I'm here on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, pretty much everywhere because, as I said, this is my favorite topic. But I finally realized, in the Coin of Heaven lecture, we have to look at some point, are we spending our thoughts or are we investing, right? So I was spending my thoughts, my words, my beliefs, my affirmations, my faith, my understanding, and I was not investing them. So the evidence of that was the lack of return, right? And so finally, I knew this was for sure, it was like upon realizing that the ingredient swaps were what was going on, right? And it was like, why don't they just name it their own cookbook? Why do they have to stick Neville's name on it? And so that was just sort of like a thorn in my paw for a while, but whatever. I forgot about it because I turned my back to it, literally, and I was focused on what I had set out to do. I created this reality for myself 4 years ago, and here it is. So let that be a testament to you. But I realized, even from my psychology background, there's no amount of repeating an affirmation that, and even ones that usually had nothing to do with my desire, right? I'm chosen, or I'm a priority, or I don't know, whatever. Different desires I had, they had nothing to do with it. But I was morning, noon, and night listening to these things and night tapes. It was crazy. And so basically, I realized, there's not enough repeating on Earth that will take away someone's free will or explain everyone as you pushed out or why no circumstances matter, right? And these things I'm going to not even touch on today. They are a video in and of themselves that we will get to as we go down the line. But really, can affirmations, get you into a better frame of mind? Can they help mindfulness? Can they help you, get back on your feet if you had come out of something really painful? Neville calls it the trip through the furnaces, right? That's what we're doing. And the law is here to just kind of buffer that for us. So sure, but they could not deliver what Neville had been promising. What Neville's promising requires some sort of spirituality and some sort of marriage of psychology and spirituality, and some sense of higher power. So, you like I said, you just have to accept the gift. I mean, that is my best advice to you. Accept the gift of being God. Ask yourself, what the hell else do I have going on? What the fuck is going on in my life that I'm going to say, no, thank you. I don't need to be God. I will just, exist over here. This is great. I love this, I love working wherever I'm working and doing whatever I'm doing and, blah, blah, blah. Why would I want to be God? Nah, next time around, maybe. Fuck that. Accept that you are God. And if you don't do that, seriously, you're not going to be able to hold on and embrace these things. I'm just telling you that right now. You can call it a limiting belief, call it whatever you want, but until you can accept that, that's how you're going to dive into all this, and it's going to all start to make sense and unfold so fast that you're going to wish you did it sooner. So, I could literally make an episode the entire length of time that it would take to read every single book or lecture that Neville has ever written or produced, where he does not just repeat again and again and again and again and again and again that, God and I are one. God is within us. God is us. We are God. We are one and the same. God died for us, the whole thing. And basically, he loved us so much that he sacrificed himself, falling to such a deep sleep. We were basically walking around as like sleepwalkers. But he was willing to sacrifice himself because he loved us so much. That's what Love Endureth is about. It basically says that, God had to die, for him to, we are the crucifix, right? He had to nail himself to us and die so that we could be resurrected, and we're resurrected together. The two become one, right? And we're the product of that. We live for he died, and he exists in our imagination. And that is where everything that ever was made or will ever be made or has ever been made, creation is completely finished, and it exists in our imagination. So therefore, whatever we can imagine, we can appropriate it within our mind's eye, and we can feel it. It's this big thing. It's like you feel as if that is who you are now, even if it isn't. And you just, an assumption, even though false, when persistent, it will harden into fact. We can take subjective reality by appropriating it, what it would feel like, what it would be like, by telling ourselves a little story, by imagining a little scene, whatever it takes to suck us in there so that it feels that we were there, so that I think it's Joshua who's promised, if the sole of your foot stands upon it, then it is promised to you. And soul also, I found out, also not only stands for the foot, standing in a space. If it feels like you have stood there, it is promised to you, but it also means understanding. So if you can understand that you have been there, you have felt it, you have, all the sensory experiences, but in your mind's eye, were made to feel like, you occupied that space, then you're told you will occupy it as man, as you did as God, right? So we must accept our desires, right? These reasons that we even want these things, these reasons that we are going into these states, and these reasons that we are doing these exercises and going in our mind's eye, they are gifts, right? They're not impossible things. They're not things out of our reach. They're not things we should be afraid of or run from or start to give a long list of reasons why there's absolutely no way. And God tells us, you don't have to worry. I have ways you do not know of. The revelation tells us the beginning, and the revelation tells us the end of the promise, right? How we became and how it's supposed to end. It doesn't tell us the middle, and that is one thing. We do not get to know the how and the why. We are told to go ahead and do our little techniques, whatever it's going to be, but to feel that real, to live in it from the end as if I'm calling you from my house, as opposed to if I'm thinking of it as I'm outside of my house, imagining myself calling you while I'm looking at myself in my house. That's the big difference, right? So if I am God, and I am able to be in that scene, and I am able to die to that old self, and I am able to create the things I want to, and I know that Neville tells us a million times, like, you'll read it a million times over in so many publications. My Father and I are one, but my Father is greater than I, because God is plural, right? So the Elohim is what is each fractal, is each piece. So I am my own God, and you are, and everyone is. But we basically are in our own world. We just exist within ourselves. And as we think of things, and as we imagine them, and as we're heard, and we're called to them, those are God's gifts being like whispered to us. And we should jump on them and take on them and say yes immediately. Yes, 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 yes. Whatever it takes. Yes, I believe it. I'm imagining it. I don't care if it's the longest shot in the world. I don't care if you don't have a penny and it's a mansion that is being called to you. You live in that. You move in. You feel it. You own it. You walk in it. You print pictures, you put it in your wallet. I don't care what you have to do. You get creative, and that's the fun part. That's you basically being the operant power, right? The first creative act was the Spirit of God moved, and that's action. And we need that desire to start to cause a mental action, right? God wants to experience all the lovely things that he created, right? And that is one of the reasons we're here. And, so we have to act as the operant power. It doesn't work itself. We have to be God. We have to assume that. And then we have to go and do this work mentally. Our spirit, when we are moved mentally, that is God moving within us, right? And since God and I are one, it's just mental work. And so we want to see it as a gift and as love. And we want to love it so much that we are willing to do the same as God did for us, which is to die to our old self, right? And attach ourselves to that. And that's it. And walk with that. And that becomes our new dwelling place, right? Just like our garment is God's new dwelling place, right? So, these things, if you don't believe you're God, how are you going to have the faith and the trust to get through the moments when nothing seems to be happening? When you've been doing this and nothing seems to be happening. But you hear people say, there's always movement. Well, how's there always movement? Well, guess what? It's already within you. So it's not even, he says it can't even be so far as to be near, because that implies separation. It's in you. So as we are moving our mind, our mindset, and as we're persisting, we're getting closer and closer and closer to occupying that state and to seeing that subjective reality objectified out, and it becoming our thing and becoming, a 3D thing we can have and hold, whether it's a person or a thing or a feeling. So basically, you're not going to be able to get through that time where, or even worse, where, you've been doing this, and Neville tells you the end of the sentence is, at that point, you are to do one thing and one thing only. You are to turn your back to the evidence of your senses, and you are to walk in faith and not sight, and you are to be put onto a bridge of incidents that will walk you right into it. Just as I said in my first episode, where thoughts go forward, they snowball and go forward, and you will eventually and inevitably confront that. So there is always movement. We are moving. You are just basically going to confront that by your persisting in it. It does not matter what's going on. Don't listen to anybody who is telling you that the opposite is happening, or that a story's playing out, or that this is happening or that's happening, or you're blocked. Or Neville talks about none of that, except none of that. The end of that question, the period after that sentence is, turn your back to the evidence of your senses and walk in faith and not sight. But if you don't believe you are God, that you and Jesus are one, that you have this power to create, that you have this power to just think things into being, speak and think things into being, how are you going to hang in there? How are you going to hold on? How are you going to get through it? How are you not going to just crumble constantly? How are you not going to be exhausted? How are you not going to be looking? How are you not going to be mistaking and thinking that you are actually creating, or you are actually changing, right? It's no one to change but self, because we are the ones with the perception. We are the ones that are seeing. We are the ones that are, judging. And we have to be forgiving like God. God is forgiveness. God is, and to forgive is to forget. So if we're still looking at another and we see them as anything other than love and as, perfect, and understanding that they are God too. They are their I amness is just occupying a state. They may not know it. We didn't know it. We have to hold them on high, or else we hold them in hostage. So when you're trying to get an SP, when you're trying to get money, when you're trying to get better health, when you're trying to get anything, you are not trying to get it. You are trying to get yourself to align with that of that version of them that is alive and well and thriving that you are experiencing, or you wouldn't even know to look for it. That's where you get sayings that people don't understand, that they just hear repeated back to them again, and it doesn't make sense to them. And so they go back and back and back to coaches again and again, and they're making the rounds, and they're just retelling old stories. They don't understand that there are no circumstances. Forget they don't exist. There aren't any. How could there be? We are the ones just simply creating with our thoughts, and then we can simply switch that thought and pull it right back, right? If you don't understand that, how do you think that someone's going to feel when they've been doing this for a year and a half of just repeating affirmations and listening to sleep tapes and not understanding that they are actually God? That, then someone suddenly tells them, oh, your SP I just heard got engaged. How do you think they're not going to crumble? Of course they're going to react to circumstances. Of course they're going to not want to persist. Of course they're going to, not believe in this. Of course they're going to want to give up. And there is no giving up. So it's a true disservice to do to others to teach them that, because we don't get to give up. There is no stopping. We've been manifesting since birth, and we're going to keep manifesting until we die. So, I know this is a lot already, and so I'm going to leave it here for now. We'll come back to this. We're going to review, and we're going to go over and discuss really one of my most favorite lectures, which is Love Endureth, which states that faith will be fulfilled, hope will be realized, but God, who is eternal, and we who are eternal are the only things that will never die. Even when this garment dies, we go on and on until we reach the promise. That we don't know. According to Neville, we may die 100 times over. We don't know. But eventually we will know we are the Father. And that's the ultimate, right? We literally become God. But most people are occupied, are concerned with the law, because, that's what's bringing us the buffers and the joy and the love and the people and the things here into this realm where we can enjoy them. So to me, I think of God as just pure love. And for me, I'll leave you with this. I focus on just being like naked God. I don't bother trying to get from the state of I am Heather with in this one state and in this subject, and I'm going to try to make this big leap into a consciousness and hold it. Rather I just rip this garment off, throw it into dry cleaning, and go as like naked God, pure love. I just see myself as like a beam of white light, just radiating out. And as long as I'm focusing on love, which all things are made of and are made by, and God declared He is the love and the light, I use my own little hack. I put this into my belief system with conviction, and I built the belief that love is light, and light is the fastest speed we can measure. So I'm bound to see that reflected back real fast. All things loving. Some people will reflect it back to me by saying, everything is just love. Everything is just love. It's all just about love. It's all just about love. Other people will reflect it back by, sending me some message. I love your hair. And all I did was have my hat off, or, I love whatever, I love what you said yesterday. And meanwhile, I can't even remember what it was. It's just self-concept. That's what it is. That is what's driving that. And I know that, but it comes so fast, and it's come so fast to me. Sometimes it has literally changed overnight, had my head spinning, and it's led me to some wonderful epiphanies and wonderful experiences. So there's nothing that focusing on love and gratitude you cannot do, because you are still persisting in love. And if everyone is yourself pushed out, which again, another, confusing and, big topic that's going to need its own video, which we will do. I think I'll do that one. No, I'm going to do Love Endureth. So then, I don't know. We'll come up with everyone as you pushed out. That'll be very soon, because it's important, and it's misunderstood, and like most things, and we got to clear that up, because you have to understand that you are getting nothing. There's nothing you've ever gotten. You can only give. You can only give, give, give. All you have to give is yourself, and so you can only give the contents of yourself, and that is what you've been thinking, and that is what your consciousness is, and that is what you are embodying. And when you are saturated with that, it will push out and it will be reflected back to you. So it's more than just a reflection coming back. It has to come from you. Has to be pushed out of you. So you have to be persisting and just saturated in those thoughts. And so sometimes we cannot get over some pain. We cannot get over something that just happened to us. We are not there yet. We're not able to think lovingly of something that just hurt us. We are in human form, right? So we can still just think of anything and anyone. I don't care. You get to be as creative as you want in this point, right? You get to say, I love to use a little hack of so for instance, say someone says to me, hey, my SP just hung up on me. I say, you know what you do? Pull out of your back pocket. I remember when that day when my SP hung up on me, but now it's 2 years later and we're married, and he's out in the garage tinkering, and today was such a great day because it was our 3rd anniversary or something, whatever. If you can't even do that, still take them, still put them into that girl. I remember when we had that day, and now it's our 3rd wedding anniversary, and he's out there tinkering in the garage, supposedly making me something. I don't care. But you know what? I'm so happy because today was the day I adopted the kitten I've been wanting, or it's my best friend's birthday, or I celebrated somebody's good health news. Make up anything, and then it only takes that second to switch your mind, and you're not jarring it and pounding it with thoughts that, again, your brain knows if you're just trying to flip a thought and tell it something that you didn't just hear this, you didn't just hear this, you didn't just hear this, this is the truth, this is the truth. Your brain is going, I think you're dying, I think you're having I think you're maybe going into a coma. Your brain's number one job is to keep you alive. It relies on your patterns and what you think to know that everything's status quo, that you're okay. If you suddenly start doing that, the reason we resist it, the reason that it is the worst way to come at trying to impress your subconscious with a new belief is there is no time that your brain is fighting harder to not accept it because it wants to make sure you're fucking sane. You haven't just been hitting the head with a baseball bat, right? So there is no worse time than to try to flip that right then and there in that manner. You can do it in a gentle, loving way, which your mind enjoys, which your mind gets to acknowledge what it heard and satisfies it and believes it, and then switches its attention to something that it loves and takes its attention off of that. You're doing the same thing, just in a really smart, gentle, loving, easy way, which your brain will accept, which then makes it much more easy and much more likely to actually objectify in your reality. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. I guess what I am going to say is, if this hasn't convinced you, I don't know. If you have a better offer, take it. Because I've tested this multiple times. I know multiple people. It's been years. And you have to accept that you are God. You just have to. So if you have a better offer than being God, then go ahead and don't waste your time here and jump on it and go do that. But I would reason that you don't have a better offer. So just accept the fucking gift. How many times in your life are you going to be offered? How many times are you going to be standing around in a time-space reality where someone is going to say, hey, you're fucking God, and you get to create, and you get to do this and have this pass through life, so that no matter what's going on, you always know you can go within and you can create whatever you want, and you know the recipe and you know exactly how to do it, and you're just going to practicing it better and better, and you're going to just be able, it's not a get out of life free card, but it is going to make life a lot fucking better than you ever could have imagined. And you can't fail, because if you fail, God fails. We're all fractals. If one of us fails, then God doesn't get to, we'll never be reunited. We'll never be the Father. And that already is, that's already done. That's already a done deal. So, It has to be. So we cannot fail. So take the fucking long shots. Take the long shots. When you get a desire, jump in, say yes. See it as a prescription, like for yourself, a desire that God wants to see his lovely things, that you want to expand, that you want to progress, right? We don't expand. We wouldn't even have cell phones. We wouldn't even have these apps. We wouldn't have anything if somebody didn't want something else, if somebody didn't desire something else, if somebody didn't have some creative or imaginative or, any sort of new idea, right? So we want to take them as gifts, and we want to love them, and we want to cherish them the same way God has for us. And we basically just want to persist in love, persist in gratitude. That will always, always work. It will never fail you. It will never let you down. And I think that's the best advice I can give you. That's been my experience, and it's already... God, I could go on and on and on and on, but I'm gonna wrap it up because it needs to be digestible. You need to be able to think about it for a little bit, process it for a little bit, and then we will come back to all these different issues for sure, because they definitely are their own. They're definitely their own videos. They all of this stuff is really, I could go on and on for you to really understand. And that's why we break it down, and that's why we go over it again and again. So I'm going to say, accept the gift, because until you can genuinely say that you have, it's just gonna drive you more crazy than it is serve you. So run up to that table, slap that "Hello, I am God" name sticker right onto the front of your shirt, and watch what happens as your life transforms. I swear it'll be ways you just could not have imagined, and without like a single indication or a single even prospect of how it could happen. But again, we're told like we don't have to know the how, we don't have to know the when. So I'm gonna leave you on this. Please subscribe for more. And as always, know you manifested this message, right? For you created me. You created me in your image. You're imagining me. And I can't be telling you something you didn't already know, even if you don't recognize knowing it. So in turn, I've manifested you. And honestly, I'm so proud of my manifestations. I created this platform. I created this entire trajectory. The minute that I found out about this over 4 years ago, I basically knew I built that space, I occupied that space, and the characters have been filling in. And I have really the most wonderful listeners, the people who are really invested in themselves, who really want this to be their lifestyle, who really want the benefits all the way around. I have the best Facebook group members, TikTok supporters, coaching clients, workshop groups. They all work out beautifully. Tons of success. People really apply themselves. It's just a beautiful thing to be part of. It's a blessing for me. And I've made so many friends. And so join and subscribe, and you'll make some friends, and you'll be part of this community where you won't feel like you're an outsider, because I know that's one thing that sometimes people are going through. And in the spaces that I create, I really want to create a sense of intimacy. Like, I like to know as many people. I like to interact. I like to, have fun. I like it to be a space where we're like-minded people. It's not always about learning, but you can just be free to be yourself, right? We can be free to be gods. We don't have to hide as God. We can come out of the closet as God. I assumed this reality years ago, and if you didn't believe that we are God, you're bearing witness as you listen to this objectively, what was only subjectively assumed in my mind for about 4 years. So next episode, like I said, we're going to talk about love endureth, and then we'll go on to everyone is yourself pushed out. So until next time, just fucking go be God.